Welcome back to Photoshop Basics on Psdtuts Plus. I'm Martin Perhiniak, and we arrived to our last episode in the series, which is about how to do magic in Photoshop. I'm going to talk about the content-aware options, how to use the content-aware scale and the fill. These are new options in CS4 and CS5. The scale was introduced in CS4 and the fill was introduced in CS5. So let's get started. I hope you are prepared for magic. So I will first show you scale. If you have an image like this and you would like to turn it into a portrait format without cropping any parts of it, you will need to stretch it. Now I will double click on the background layer just to make a normal layer from it, and if I do this with the edit free transform tool, you will see that we will stretch the dogs, and it's something that I don't want to see. So instead of using the free transform, I will now use the edit content aware scale option. Now this works just like the free transform, but with a special addition that it will protect the details. And you see, no matter how far I go, the dogs will stay in the same proportions, and Photoshop will try to merge all these things or compress them together without stretching the details. If I zoom closer, you can even see that mountain in the background. It looks like it moves behind the other mountain. So just look at that mountain top there, and if I move it to the left, it moves behind the other mountain. And this is just amazing, I think. So content aware scale is one of the magical features in Photoshop. So we could turn this image from a landscape format into a portrait format without cropping any parts of it. And now I will show you the CS5 new feature, which is content aware fill. I have a selection prepared on this image to select this window here. I go to my channels and I control or command click on this selection. By the way, if you want to save your selection, you can always do that. Under the select menu, you will find save selection, and it will create an alpha channel in the channels panel. And whenever you would like to select that again or load that selection, you need to command or control click on the thumbnail in the channels panel. So this is my save selection, and I would like to replace it with details from the wall. To do that, I only need to go to edit and choose fill, or even if you have only a background layer, just use the backspace key on the keyboard, and then use content aware. So from the options, choose content aware. If you click on OK, Photoshop will do the magic part and will replace the selected part of the image with the parts that you have around that selection. This is an automatic sampling from the image, and I think it's just amazing. You can even use the spot healing brush tool, which we've learned in another tutorial, and use the content aware option here on the top, and if you draw with that tool over a part in the image, you can use the same feature, the content aware fill, but by using this brush tool, the spot healing brush tool. I'll show you another example, and I have another selection for this image. I selected the girl, and as you can see, my selection is nothing close to the edges, it's just a really rough selection. It's interesting that most of the time we would like to create a very precise selection, but in this case we don't need to make a precise selection. It's better to have a rough selection because content aware fill will work better in that way. So now that I have my selection, I can press backspace and use content aware fill and wait for the miracle, which is there. So now you can see that this was before and this is after. A completely automatic fill, and you can even see if we zoom close, this was before and this is after. So even the small details are aligned in the image. I show you another example. If you have images like this, where you have very different parts on the image, and you would like to get rid of her, for example, from this image again, you can help Photoshop by masking out the parts of the image that you don't want to use for the content-aware fill. I just show you first without using the mask and having that selection for the girl, and using content-aware fill, it does a really good job, but have a mistake on the pond. So it used that part here from the left on the pond, but it did a really good job on the other parts. But now if I go back and if I turn on my mask, which will hide any other parts from the image and only show the parts that I would like to use for the content-aware fill, now I can use the same option, and you'll see Photoshop will do a much better job, and even it will be a bit faster because it uses a smaller part for the content-aware fill. And last but not least, I return back to another example what we used in a previous tutorial. After merging images together into a panoramic image, you can also use content-aware fill instead of using the crop tool. If you go to the layer menu and you choose flatten image, you can't see this option, but it's here at the bottom. So I choose flatten image. It will turn the layers into one background layer. And then I will use my magic wand tool from the toolbar, it's here. And I set the tolerance to 1 and I click on the background, the white background, the gaps around the image. That is a quick and fast way to select everything around the image. But to use content-aware fill, it's better to go to select, modify and expand the selection. And usually I use 10 pixels to extend it. So I click on OK now and I zoom closer just to show you what happened. So this was before and this is after. So I expanded the whole selection by 10 pixels all around the edges. And then I say backspace, so I click backspace on my keyboard or go to edit fill, choose content aware and I click on OK. And instead of cropping or using the clone tool to manually fill in the gaps around the image, content aware fill will do the job and it will create a perfect panoramic photograph. You can see that even here on the edges we have a really nice detail. So this was before and this is after. Again on full screen, before and after. Maybe here on the left we have a little problem, but we can quickly fix that by using the spot healing brush tool with the content aware option and just simply draw over it to tell Photoshop that we would like to replace this. And that's it. So you can see that with content aware fill and scale, you can really impress your friends or your clients, and you can tell them that you became a professional Photoshop user by learning from Psdtuts.com. Thanks a lot for your attention, and I wish you a great time working or playing around in Photoshop in the future. Feel free to visit my personal blog, which is yesimadesigner.com. You can see it written down here on the top, where you can ask questions directly from me and see my latest works and tutorials. So thanks a lot for your attention again, and goodbye.